While this podcast isn't rated explicit, the content may not be suitable for younger listeners. Welcome to Sex for Saints, the Christian couple's guide to great sex. I am your host, certified sex and marriage coach, Amanda Lauder. This is episode 376, The Enneagram and Sex. Welcome to Sex for Saints, a podcast for Christian couples. My goal with this podcast is to help enlighten, educate, and inspire you to understand yourself, your spouse, and your sexuality better. I talk about sex in a way you probably haven't heard before. I'm bold, I'm direct, but I keep everything in line with my strong Christian values. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Have you ever wondered why you respond the way you do to sexual experiences? Why you crave certain things, avoid others, or find yourself stuck in patterns that feel hard to explain? Or maybe you've been confused by your partner's approach to sex, why they shut down, why they crave novelty, why they seem to need more or less than you do. One of my favorite tools for exploring these questions is the Enneagram. The Enneagram is a personality framework that helps people understand themselves and others on a deep emotional level. It's based on the idea that there are 9 core types of motivation, and each of us tends to operate primarily from one of those types. But unlike many personality systems that just focus on behaviors, the Enneagram goes deeper. It looks at the underlying fears, desires, and internal narratives that shape our worldview, our relationships, or even our sexual expression. At its core, the Enneagram isn't about labeling or boxing people in. It's a map, a dynamic tool for growth that shows us not only who we are when we're functioning well, but also who we can become when we're stressed, reactive, or disconnected from ourselves. So each type has patterns of thinking and feeling and behaving that are driven by a core fear and a core desire. And once you start to see those patterns in yourself and your partner, it becomes much easier to understand why certain issues come up, especially around sex and intimacy. This is a tool that I use so much in my coaching, especially with my couples, because I think it is so insightful in helping us not only understand ourselves, but also our partner. So the symbol of the Enneagram is a 9-pointed figure inside a circle. It represents the way the types relate to each other. It's not linear, it's interconnected. You're not just one number. You have a primary type, but you also have a wing, which is the number next to yours that adds flavor to your personality, and stress and growth lines that show how you behave under pressure or when you're thriving. So in a marriage, the Enneagram gives language to things we often feel but can't articulate. Why you shut down when your spouse criticizes you, why you need affirmation after sex, why your partner withdraws during conflict. It brings clarity to your emotional habits and compassion to your partners, so you can start to move out of blame and into curiosity. So in my work with clients and couples, I have found it to be incredibly helpful for understanding not just how we behave, but why, especially in something as intimate and emotionally charged as sex. So each of the 9 types has a dominant lens through which they experience life. And that lens shapes how they relate to their own sexuality and to their partner. And it's not about putting people in boxes. It's about illuminating the box that they might already be in and giving them tools to actually grow beyond it. So when couples begin to understand their Enneagram types, it often unlocks a new level of compassion for themselves and each other. They begin to see that the frustration that they feel in the bedroom isn't always personal. It's often a story that was written long before they ever met. So let's walk through each of the types, and I'll share both some general characteristics and how those traits might show up in a sexual relationship for both men and women. So as you listen, try to identify yourself and your partner, but hold it loosely, okay? The goal isn't to diagnose, it's to get curious. So let's start with type 1, which is often called the reformer. Type 1s have a deep inner drive to be good, to do the right thing, and to improve themselves and the world. They often carry a very strong inner critic and can struggle with letting go of control. Sex can be complicated for ones because it might feel indulgent or messy and not in line with their ideals of order or morality. So type 1 woman might delay sex until everything else in life is done. The kids are asleep, the house is clean, and she feels like she's earned it. Even then, her mind might stay in task mode, making it really hard to fully enjoy the experience. So a type 1 man might be more focused on doing sex right, pleasing his wife, lasting a long time, being respectful, but may secretly carry some shame about spontaneous desire or arousal. So growth for ones often looks like creating a space where pleasure is allowed to be imperfect. Sex becomes an opportunity to release the inner critic and enjoy something for the joy of it, not because it checks a box or meets a standard. Type 2 is often called the helper. 2s are generous, loving, and focused on meeting the needs of others. They feel most secure when they're appreciated and often struggle to express their own needs, especially sexually. So a type 2 woman might initiate sex by tending to her husband's needs, back rubs, sweet gestures, or checking in emotionally, hoping it leads to connection, but never directly asking for what she wants. She may feel resentful when it doesn't go the way she hoped. And then a type 2 man might feel very attentive to his wife's pleasure, but not know how to express his own desire without feeling selfish. Now, growth for 2s often involves learning to express desire without guilt. It's giving themselves permission to want something, not as a reward for being good, but because they're worthy of receiving. When a 2 learns to say, "I'd really love for you to touch me here," or "I want you to pursue me tonight," it could be a powerful moment of self-trust and mutual intimacy. Now, type 3 is often called the achiever. 3s are driven, image conscious, and deeply motivated by success and external validation. For many 3s, sex is tied to performance, looking good, doing it well, and getting approval. So a type 3 woman might tie her sexual confidence to her appearance. If she doesn't feel attractive that day, she might shut down sexually. Not because she doesn't want sex, but because she fears being seen as less than. A type 3 man might link his worth to sexual performance, whether he can wow his wife, initiate successfully, or create the perfect encounter. So for 3s, growth looks like letting go of the need to be impressive and choosing to be real instead. Sex becomes less about winning or achieving and more about being present, playful, and emotionally available. The greatest gift for a 3 is hearing, "I want you," even when you're not at your best. Now, type 4 is called the individualist. 4s are emotionally rich, introspective, and sensitive. They crave deep connection and are often drawn to intensity and beauty. Sex is never just physical for a 4. It's poetic, symbolic, and deeply entwined with meaning. So a type 4 woman may long for sex that feels emotionally resonant. But if she's in a lower place emotionally, she might push her spouse away, convinced that they'll never truly understand her. A type 4 man may crave profound connection, but struggle to initiate if the moment doesn't feel just right. If the vibe feels off, he might retreat and wait, sometimes for days, hoping the emotional atmosphere will shift. So growth for 4s involves letting sex be less about perfect emotional alignment and more about shared experience. They thrive when they can bring creativity, expression, and vulnerability into the bedroom without needing everything to feel epic. Let's take a quick pause and talk about something that often gets overlooked in conversations about sex and connection: Preparation. I don't just mean putting the kids to bed or checking off the to-do list. I'm talking about how we prepare our minds, our bodies, and even our bedrooms for meaningful connection. For me, that preparation starts early in the day. Sometimes I'll wear something beautiful, like a piece of lingerie, underneath my regular clothes. Not for anyone else, but for me. It's my way of staying connected to my body and my desire. And I always layer it with something soft and cozy, because feeling good in your body isn't about sacrificing comfort. It's about honoring both sensuality and ease. That's why I love Cozy Earth. Their all-day tee is a staple in my closet. Breathable, lightweight, and soft enough to sleep in, but cute enough to wear all day. Their studio pants, let's just say I could live in them. And when it's time to wind down at night, their bamboo sheets are what I look forward to most. They're temperature regulating, made from viscose from bamboo, and they wick away heat and moisture like nothing else I've tried. It's like slipping into a cool, quiet exhale at the end of the day. Creating a bedroom that feels like a retreat isn't just about aesthetics. It's about creating a space that your body wants to relax in, that feels safe and inviting for sex and sleep alike. And Cozy Earth has been a huge part of that for me. They even offer a 100-night sleep trial, so you can try them during the hottest nights of the year and return them if they're not for you. But honestly, you're not going to want to give them back. And with a 10-year warranty on all bedding, you'll be sleeping cool and comfortable for a long time. So if you're working on preparing not just for a great night, but for a great relationship, mind, body, and space, go to cozyearth.com and use the code Amanda for 40% off their best-selling sheets, apparel, and more. Because luxury shouldn't be out of reach, and you deserve to feel amazing in every part of your day. All right, so type fives, they're often called the investigator. Fives are thoughtful, analytical, and deeply protective of their energy. They tend to approach life and sex with a desire to understand before they engage. They're often more private and reserved, needing time to warm up and feel safe. A type 5 woman may need a lot of personal space and might not prioritize physical affection unless it's on her terms. She may crave intellectual connection before sexual touch. A type 5 man might be deeply curious about sex, reading, researching, even fantasizing, but hesitant to act, especially if it feels emotionally risky. Fives often do best when sex is predictable, in a positive way, not spontaneous or high pressure, but mutually initiated with plenty of space to say yes or no without guilt. Their growth path involves learning that sexual energy can be regenerative, not just depleting, and that they can trust their partner to handle their full presence. A type 6 is often called the loyalist. Sixes are loyal, anxious, and motivated by safety and support. They long to know their partner is with them and for them. In sex, they often need a strong foundation of emotional trust to feel free. A type 6 woman might become sexually avoidant during times of emotional distance, worrying that sex will feel fake or obligatory. A type 6 man might crave reassurance that he's wanted and doing it right, but having a hard time asking directly. So he'll test, hint, or withdraw. For sixes, safety is the gateway to sexual openness. They thrive on consistency, check-ins, and post-sex connection. Growth means learning to ground themselves internally so that their partner doesn't always have to prove their love, but also trusting that asking for what they need is safe. Now, type 7 is the enthusiast. Sevens are optimistic, playful, and driven by the pursuit of pleasure. They love novelty and can bring great energy to the sexual relationship, but they often struggle to stay present when things get uncomfortable emotionally or physically. A type 7 woman might be full of exciting ideas, new lingerie, different locations, role play, but they avoid slower or more emotionally intimate moments. A type 7 man may love initiating new experiences, but struggle to stay with his partner's emotions if the mood turns serious or vulnerable. Sex becomes transformative for a 7 when they learn to stay with what is, not just chase what's next. Their growth comes when they stop avoiding discomfort and start embracing depth, when they realize that the richest pleasures often come on the other side of presence and stillness. Now, type 8 is called the challenger. 8s are strong, assertive, and passionate. They don't shy away from intensity and often bring a bold, commanding presence to sex. But underneath that strength is a tender desire to be known and loved without having to protect themselves. An 8 woman might take charge in bed, but feel deeply hesitant to let her partner lead, fearing that vulnerability equals weakness. A type 8 man might initiate frequently and confidently, but find it difficult to express emotional softness or admit to feeling hurt. For 8s, sex becomes sacred when it becomes a space where they don't have to be in control all the time, when they can let down their guard and trust their partner sees and loves them fully. It's not about taming their passion, but about integrating it with tenderness. And type 9 is the peacemaker. 9s are calm, accommodating, and conflict avoidant. They often lose touch with their own desires and defer to their partner's needs, especially in the bedroom. A type 9 woman might say yes to sex to keep the peace, even when she's not fully engaged. So over time, this can lead to disconnection and resentment. A type 9 man might avoid initiating because he's afraid of rejection or rocking the boat, and then assume his partner just isn't interested. So growth for 9s looks like waking up to their own sexual desire, learning to take up space and express preferences. When a 9 learns to initiate, to say, "This is what I want tonight," or to ask for something specific, it's not just empowering, it's a turning point. So understanding your Enneagram type and your partners isn't just about decoding behaviors. It's about understanding the inner world that drives them. When you realize that your partner's withdrawal isn't about you, but about their core fear of being overwhelmed, or that your own reluctance to initiate isn't laziness, but a fear of doing it wrong, you can begin to shift the story. You can also start to collaborate more intentionally. A type 2 and a type 5 will have a very different sexual needs. But when they understand each other's wiring, they can stop taking things personally and start crafting a sexual relationship that honors both people. So much of what we experience in sex is not about sex. It's about how we see ourselves, how we relate to need, how we deal with shame, fear, control, and longing. The Enneagram doesn't solve everything, but it gives us a framework to see ourselves and each other more clearly. And that clarity is the first step to compassion, connection, and true transformation. So if you want to take this further, I'd encourage you and your spouse to identify your type and begin talking about how it shows up sexually. What are your tendencies? Where do you get stuck? What helps you feel open and safe? What brings you alive? These questions open the door to more conscious, compassionate, and a connected sex life. Because sex isn't just something we do, it's a reflection of who we are and who we're becoming. So to find your type, I recommend taking the test on Truity.com. That's Truity. Now, it's going to give you where you rank with each of the 9 numbers. Don't take the top number as gospel truth. Take your top 3 or 4 numbers and read more about them to see if you can identify which one fits you best. Now, it will ask you to pay money at the end to get the full results. You don't need to do that. It's going to give you your rank with each of the 9 numbers, and then you can Google each of those and your top 3 or 4 and read more about those. It's really simple. Now, tests are not the best way to understand your Enneagram type. Because most tests measure behavior and Enneagram based on behavior. So this is just a starting point by taking a test. It's really going to take some research and to sit with what you think your type might be and see how it shows up for you. Just to give you an example, I thought I was a type 3 for many, many years. But with time and more clarity, I actually realized that I'm a type 8, and that fits me really, really well. So I am going to put my list of my favorite Enneagram books in the show notes. They are The Road Back to You, which is just a basic primer on the Enneagram and types. The Path Between Us, which was written by the same author and is about how each type works in a relationship. The Wisdom of the Enneagram is an in-depth look at each Enneagram and each type, which is a fantastic book. It's kind of the Bible of the Enneagram. And of course, to go along with this episode, there is a book called Sex and the Enneagram. So I'll put the links for all of those in the show notes. Thanks so much for joining me today. Remember that love is a journey, not a destination. Stay committed, stay passionate, and stay connected. And happy 4th of July. Bye-bye. Like what you're hearing on this podcast? Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Don't forget to leave me a review and share it with your friends.